Hi, everybody. I'm Dr. Erin Golden. As Bruce mentioned, I am the Assistant Director at the Postdoc Office. Really excited to be here with all of you and really excited to be here with some of our fantastic faculty. So we have with us Curtis Henry, who's an Associate Professor in the Department of Immunology and Microbiology, and also the Deputy Associate Director of Diversity, Equity, Inclusion, and Access at the CU Cancer Center. Dr. Jessica Kendrick, who is a professor in the Department of Pediatrics in the Division of Endocrinology, and is also the Renal Disease and Hypertension Fellowship Program Director, so she directs a T32 program. And last but not least, Dr. Ben Scholl, who's an assistant professor in the Department of Physiology and Biophysics. So I'm going to ask some questions, give you all a chance to talk. If anybody has questions that they want to ask of our panel, you can both put those in the chat. You can ask them now. We're going to be asking a bunch of questions for the rest of the panel. But to start, to our presenters, I'll have you each go around and introduce yourself. So Dr. Kendrick, you're first on my screen, so I'm going to have you introduce yourself first.
Okay, well, thank you. It's great to be here with all of you today. So I'm Jessica Kendrick. I'm a professor. I'm in the Division of Renal Diseases, but I'm an adult nephrologist, but I do a lot of stuff with pediatrics as well in endocrinology. And I've been director of our T32 program for, quite a long time now. So what I would tell you about being here on our campus is, again, with everything you've heard has been amazing. My research primarily focuses on clinical trials. So we have a lot of postdocs that work in my lab that work on various clinical trials and clinical research, lots of patient-oriented. We do a lot of translational research. And I primarily look at cardiovascular risk factors in patients with chronic kidney disease. I know we'll hear more about things later. I don't know if you want me to keep going or I'll just stop there and let someone else talk now.
All right, thank you. Dr. Henry.
All right. It's so good to see either smiling faces or the names of the people who are here. So I want to start there. I also want to say, either good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, depending on your location in the world. I apologize for the creepy lighting. I'm actually at a conference. I've been at a conference for about a week, doing what we love to do in Colorado, which is recruit talented people to our university. So I was in Phoenix for 4 days, and now I'm in San Antonio doing the same work. And I will eventually go back to our beautiful state of Colorado and our cancer center here in the next few days. So I wear many hats at the university. Again, I'm an associate professor of immunology and microbiology. I'm also the deputy associate director of DEIA for the Cancer Center. I'm on several leadership committees, both in the Department of Immunology and Microbiology, our Cancer Biology program, our Integrative Physiology program, and our Bio BSP program. And so I sit on a lot of committees, so I feel very connected to the university. I actually was a postdoctoral fellow here as well. I was in the laboratory of Dr. James DeGregory before I took my first faculty position at Emory University in 2016. And because I love the campus in Colorado so much, I came back for round two, and hopefully I'll be here for a while. I can probably talk about my research later, but I'll just stop there so we can actually maximize our time. And again, you guys chose to spend your time correctly by joining us today. I promise you, we will not disappoint you.
Thanks, Dr. Henry and Dr. Scholl.
Hey, I'm an assistant professor in the physiology department. I actually moved here, moved my lab here very recently. I started my lab at the University of Pennsylvania. I was there for about 3 years. But the type of environment that I was looking to foster for the kinds of science we do and the collaborative environment that I needed was much easier to build and connect here. So I moved to this particular department. We're primarily a neuroscience lab studying neural circuits and synaptic physiology. Aside from the science, I'm also involved, which I'll probably say a few more words about, but just to mention now, in this like recruitment event for postdocs, where we are there'll be a flyer that passes around, but there's an opportunity for anybody who's interested in potentially presenting some of the work that they're doing as a student or an early postdoc to come free trip to Denver Anschutz, April 7th and 8th, where you'll be able to be part of a symposium that presents that work and meet with potential faculty in the physiology, neurosciences, and molecular biology. So that's a great opportunity that we've just started. This will be the first year that we do it, but I hope that we're probably going to continue doing it in the future as well.
Great, thanks so much. I'm hoping each of you next can tell us a little bit about your research and the way that postdocs are involved in that research, either within your own lab or within the department. And then I'm going to combine that with a question about mentoring and mentoring philosophy. So I will let whoever wants to go first jump in. But Dr. Henry.
Sure, no worries. I'll also just, if that's okay, if I can do this, I'll throw my LinkedIn page in the chat for anyone. I know we can go through information pretty quickly, and this is a way for people to take your time, kind of look at what I do, and also hopefully connect with me. So if you have other question that comes up off the records, feel free to drop me a line. But very simply, I am an immunologist by training. I got my doctorate from Wake Forest University eons ago. People told me I can start saying that I'm a mid-career investigator. So that means someone who's halfway between young and old, and people don't know where to place you. And so my training is really kind of focused on all types of immunity, T cells, dendritic cells. We study macrophages, gamma deltas, et cetera. But really what we're trying to understand is how the immune system basically becomes unfiltered, so to speak, or deregulated in the context of obesity and aging, and how this deregulated immune system actually promotes cancer development. And so we're applying this knowledge to improving the efficacy of immunotherapies, which aligns with my own personal philosophies of equity in science. I feel like everyone should get the maximum possible outcomes from any therapies they receive. And I think that it's time to actually build in a lot of these comorbidities into how we conduct our research. And so from this work, very quickly, we have about 10 patents from this work. So we do a lot of what I call bedside to bench to bedside research. So we find signals in people. We go back into the lab to try to figure out how to create the best systems to study these things. And then we work with clinicians to try to get our results back into patients who need them. We also just got a drug that was received FDA approval for orphan drug approval in March of 2023. Excuse me, 2024. So I'm already jumping around. I've been in science so long, you just forget what year it is. So this is a common occurrence that starts during your postdoctoral years, just because you love it. So time becomes irrelevant. But yes, we just received orphan drug approval for an antibody targeting a lectin for blood cancer. So again, I can talk a lot offline about that. I have 2 postdoctoral fellows like Dr. Scholl. I just returned to campus about a year ago. So my lab has about 8 people, a lab manager, a lab technician, several grad students, and 2 postdocs. One of the postdoctoral fellows is working on a project looking at the impact of weight loss drugs on cancer cells and also responses to immunotherapies. Is actually a pretty hot field, and we get a lot of interest in this topic because there's not a lot of research out there on how these drugs impact anything except for weight loss. And then we have another project that my other postdoc is looking at the impact of aging and obesity on the biophysical interactions between cancer cells and immune cells. And we have a paper under review at Nature Communication right now that we hope gets accepted at some point, and really will kind of serve as the launching point for Tim's career. So I will stop there so I can turn it over to hear about all the other awesome research that we're doing on our campus.
Dr. Kendrick, I'll have you go next.
Sure. So I'm a little bit different as I'm an MD researcher, but I also did like my postdoc here, lots of research training. So on RT32 and just in my own lab, I have had various MDs and PhD students and postdocs in my laboratory. So right now I have 1 MD as well as 1 PhD, so postdoc, so that are both working on various projects, and also lots of medical students, and then students from like the School of Public Health that are working toward they're in their masters now and maybe going on. So we do a lot of different things. I've had a lot of postdocs go on now that are faculty, which is fabulous, and they're doing clinical trials. So we primarily focus on sort of epidemiologic and outcome research initially, and that's how we get a lot of our observational data and get things we need for our clinical trials. And then we go forward to perform them. So my current MD postdoc, she's doing a trial in kids that young adolescents, because that's what she's interested in the transitions, and she's looking at their bone health and these children that have CKD and trying to look to see, well, what happens to their bone health over time. So right now it's just observationally, when could we intervene, because we don't really know, are there differences. We look at a lot of sex differences between men and women. In this case, we're looking at boys versus girls, and how do sex hormones play a role of this in terms of their growth. So that's one of them. One of my other is working on acute kidney injury. So kind of going down the opposite spectrum. And she's enrolling children as well as adults into a prospective trial where she's looking to say, again, these children or adults, when they present to the emergency room with sepsis or other signs of infection, maybe it's not full-blown sepsis yet, when do they go on to develop AKI, and where does complement fit in? So this one is very translational. So we also have some of our basic scientists who do a lot of complement. We're collecting various complement factors from the blood and the urine. So it's very exciting that we're getting these translational aspects. We have another trial that's in patients with kidney transplants, and we actually take kidney biopsies. And so, long story short, what we do is we look for changes in obviously clinical outcomes, but we're also doing things very translational at tissue level. And so this is where a lot of the PhD folks end up doing this. So in my collaborator's lab, who's a COA on this, he has a postdoc that's actually doing all this stuff where we're looking at truly complement staining and different things in the kidney tissue itself. So it's a really nice way that we kind of bring together our MD scientists and our PhD scientists. And so everybody works, and I think it's a very collaborative, and that's sort of my philosophy is like the clinicians have to be working with the PhD scientists, because there's all these things that PhDs do that I have no idea how to do. And then we can bring in the clinical aspect. And I think that you'll find that on the Anschutz campus, we do that very, very well. And so I think you'll see, and you can just see from this, like, it's a wide variety, but we all work together. And no matter what your field is, you can always find these other groups, and we kind of connect people. And so I think it's really wonderful. And it's really what NIH wants to see, right? They want this translational research. They want this team science. And so I think that's something we do very well here on campus. So I'll stop there because I could keep going, but I'll for time.
That's always the danger, right? Ask faculty to start talking about their research. We could have a whole hour and a half panel about that. Dr. Scholl, if you can share about your research and your postdocs.
Yeah, I'm going to talk, I'll just mention what I do, but I was going to talk a little bit more about kind of our department and part of the reasons why I came here. So, I mean, my lab studies visual processing, and we used, so we're basic research, studying we're kind of at the forefront, what maybe the cutting edge of what neuroscience is capable of doing. I have a couple very high level novel multiphoton scopes, so we can do read write technology inside the brain at synaptic resolution. So we're talking like smaller, like about a micron in size. We have these optical systems, and we're really at the forefront of our knowledge, kind of trying to understand unpacked mysteries of the brain. So part of the reason I came here is because there's a lot of that technology here, and there's been definitely a push for these basic scientists by Anschutz, and the types of hiring they're doing, and building the kinds of collaborations that they are fostering, the kinds of collaborations that allow us to do such fundamental and really amazing types of basic research. And in particular, in my department, there's a lot of fostering of collaborations and grouping of research to foster science overall. And I think this is largely impactful for postdocs and as well as students, but really any trainees and postdocs who are coming. So one of the things that's actually changed a lot is, like I said, there's actually been kind of a restructuring of the science that's being done in our department and other departments as well. We have neuroscience all over departments and on campus, but we're actually trying to build these clusters where people who are studying similar things are physically located and conceptually near each other and are building collaborations. And that's kind of shown partly in many, many co-PI collaborative grants, but also we're doing co-mentorship of students and training and helping postdocs. So postdocs are often working within multiple labs to learn techniques from different people. postdocs, and we've also restructured how postdocs engage in science in our department. So postdocs are allowed to attend many of the aspects that are part of the career path of being an academic. So they are encouraged to come to the recruitment talks where faculty or potential faculty recruits come and give talks about their research, as well as the chalk talks, which are an integral part of seeing somebody's thought process and understanding what their pitch is for the next 5 or 10 years. So we don't have closed door meetings. We open everything so postdocs can come see that. We have actually started specific postdoc mentorship committee meetings and specific events within our departments that are now being shared across pretty much departments that are focused on neuroscience, but really to focus on supporting postdocs doing neuroscience research and engaged in neuroscience research. We're building a lot of different resources in-house for that, as well as mentorship for F-32s, and then we have a T-32 as well. And these things are going to continue changing as we continue bringing on new faculty and restructuring the department and kind of like refocusing how faculty and postdocs interact to do science and also create a supportive environment. And so for all these reasons, that's kind of why I came here, because when I was at Penn, it was more or less working in a silo and pretty isolating. It's an enormous place. It's really, you can be a great scientist, but you're amongst so many other people, and it's an enormous, there's 7 hospitals on campus. I mean, it's pretty much really hard to take hold and build really strong networks with people. It takes a lot of time. But here, within the 6 months that I was here, I was already linked into many different groups and resources, as well as sub networks and collaborations. And it's just continuing. So there's a lot of cool things going on.
I really appreciate that, Dr. Scholl. One of the things we talk a lot about in the postdoc office that we love about campus is that we're big enough to really be doing this cutting edge research, but small enough that our postdocs are really getting to personalize their experience here. So I hope that's what a lot of you are taking away today. I'm going to kind of ride this train of like, what are our different programs offering? So Dr. Henry, can you talk a little bit about the Cancer Center and the programs they have as well?
Yes, absolutely. So just to reiterate, I'm the Deputy Associate Director of DEIA for the Cancer Center. A lot of you may not know that this is actually now a mandatory position for every NCI-funded cancer center, and it's a score driving factor. So, something I'm very, very proud that the NIH has acknowledged, that in order to kind of optimize and really kind of live up to the bill of what we say we were going to do as people in the healthcare field, it's important for us to take care of everyone. And historically, we don't have to go down that road, but we know that that hasn't been the traditional case. And now there's a, more kind of an onus and also a responsibility and obligation to do that. But the good part about being in Colorado, I think the fabric was already there, and there was already a lot of initiatives that we have in place. So I kind of look at my job as a person who can extend things, create new things, and then kind of essentially weave the quilt together if there were areas that just need to be tightened up. So it's been an absolute pleasure to work in this position since I've been back. What we've been able to do specifically pertaining to postdocs, and then some of these initiatives are really kind of big time initiatives will be rolled out next year. We're starting the Leadership Academy, which is very important in our opinion, because what we realize is that when people come in from graduate school to your postdoctoral fellowship, you kind of in what I feel like, at least when I was a postdoc, kind of like a doldrums, like what am I and where do I fit and how do I best operate? And so this is to hopefully take a little bit of angst out of that process and kind of hopefully point you in a direction. What this Leadership Academy specifically will do is there going to be opportunities to work on like your negotiating skills. So when you're actually trying to sign a contract for academia industry, how do you actually negotiate something that you feel is suitable to how much effort you've already put in this and how much work you're willing to put in this moving forward? So work on your negotiating skills, work on understanding what is a good contract so you can hopefully not sign something that sets you up for failure. So there's going to be workshops pertaining to that. There's also going to be workshops pertaining to what are the different positions in the university that are leadership positions, and then how do you get there if you want one of those leadership positions. So what's your route for being a dean or being a departmental chair or being a core director? So there's going to be workshops around that. And these are not just workshops. When I say that, let me be very clear. These are like, essentially 2-year grooming workshops that will be tailored to your schedule, because obviously, our day job is to do research and to do it in a collaborative way, but we also want to provide you with different skill sets that allow you to transition and navigate your career based on what you want to do. And then we also are providing funding for people who want to learn new things that may not be aligned with your previous training. So for example, let's say you might be an immunologist with zero health disparity work, right? And there may be a conference that you want to go to just to kind of figure out, like, how do you integrate your background with something that you want to do. The Cancer Center is putting funds towards a lot of these things. And I think that's really kind of the biggest testament of where we stand. I know a lot of people will talk a good game, but I always say that when people put money behind something, they really mean it. Money and time are really kind of the two litmus tests in my mind for how much people care about something. And what I can say, as you can see from our panel here today, and then from my intimate work with the Cancer Center, we have time and money to make sure that our postdocs are well taken care of. And I think that we're doing it in such an innovative way. And I've been around to several institutions, and I've come from great institutions myself, being Wake Forest for graduate school. And then I also was a professor, assistant professor at Emory University. I think our program is cutting edge with some of the programs, some of the initiatives that we're rolling out for postdocs at the Cancer Center. And I won't get into too much on the other like graduate programs, but I will say that there's also, again, several opportunities that I won't have time to mention today. That's why I dropped my LinkedIn information there. We have tons of things in our micro and immunology department for postdoctoral fellows, our cancer biology program, our integrated physiology program as well. And so again, please reach out to me. There's so much going on here for postdocs. I promise you won't be disappointed, but I do not want to take up all the time, because again, I can talk about how awesome CU is all day. So I'm going to force myself to shut up.
I am so excited about those leadership programs. That's truly awesome. Dr. Kendrick, I'm going to have you talk a little bit about your T32 program and the resources that you've developed.
Yes, absolutely. So we've had our T32 for 49 years. We've had it for a very long time. So it's been very successful. The postdocs on it have been both MD and PhD scientists, which is fantastic. And very similar, like, we do a lot of things where it's very structured. So yes, you're going to have a primary mentor that kind of does all of this, but then you have a mentorship committee. You have very structured activities that's there. Again, there's leadership opportunities, and we make sure everyone has leadership courses so you can also network with everyone else and do all these various things. Because what we found is, when you start looking at the classic mentor-mentee relationship, a lot of it is apprentice-based. So it's like, oh, your mentor offers all these things. That's great. And then other people may not get the same mentorship. And so what we try to do, and I think that all of our T32 programs on campus, I think, do this very well, is they want all people to be able to have access to all of these things, and not just if your mentor is providing them. So with our T32, all of our mentors undergo training. So everyone is actually a trained mentor. We actually have mentors and mentee pairs do training together through our co-mentor program. That's at our CCTSI, which is a really great program. And so it really just kind of makes everybody get the most out of that mentor-mentee relationship. The mentorship committee that we utilize also kind of help with that. So if there's something that's not working with the mentor-mentee relationship, or there's something that could be better, it gives the mentee an opportunity to do that in, a way that's they can voice that. Usually we haven't had that, but it's a really nice way to kind of assess these relationships and make sure everybody's getting what they want out of it. And similarly, we provide a lot of funding to travel to meetings. We lots of funding for like additional conferences you may want to go to, or even courses that you may want to take. So we find that sometimes people have done a lot of this, but now they want to do something more translational, and maybe they need to take a course on, something related to kidney disease. We also, as part of our training, is everybody, all of our postdocs attend our renal grand rounds and things like that are they may be more clinically oriented, but we feel like it's very important for the postdocs to sort of learn what they're studying in terms of kidney disease and what does that mean. So we, again, make sure everybody's very integrated together. And I think all of this has made our program very successful. We've had a great success rate of people going on. Lots of them get off our T32 because they all get their F grants, which is fantastic, and it's what we want. And then going on to get Ks. And so I think that's just a big thing that we have. And again, we have mentors that are from all different aspects, even outside of nephrology and endocrinology and all of these different groups. So our fellows can our postdoc fellows do all different types of research. And I think that's been also really nice. They learn to present. So there's all these additional skills that you will learn. And we utilize all these things that are on campus that are already there, which is really nice. So again, I think it's just a nice way that everybody gets integrated. The T32 program directors are all integrated together. There's things we offer together. So people that are outside of my T32, they can come into anything we do, and the same with others. And so I think our postdocs are very well supported on this campus. And I think it's something that's, again, we work with all different schools. So it's not just the School of Medicine. You can work, like we do a lot with bioengineering and different things. So it's just a really nice collaborative campus. So again, I could talk about this all day, so I'll stop because of time as well.
Great. Thank you so much, Dr. Kendrick. So in a minute, I'm going to hand it back to Bruce to talk about next steps for finding a postdoc position here. But before that, Dr. Scholl, I wanted to give you another chance to plug CU Peaks and tell folks about that.
Yeah, so yeah, like I mentioned, we're doing this recruitment event that's going to be hopefully annually. It's an opportunity for anybody who's interested to apply and come visit for a symposium. It'll be a 2-day event where you will get to present your work. And also it's an opportunity, again, paid for by us, to see the campus, see the area, meet faculty, ask specific questions to specific faculty. It'll be an intermingling between us, the faculty, and you, the potential candidates, to share our research as well. You'll also get, there'll be a poster session where you'll see work that's presented by students and postdocs in the departments that are participating. It's mainly those that are associated relatively with neuroscience, but not exclusively. Yeah, so we encourage anybody and everybody to apply. I think the deadline we have set is December 1st. If I remember correctly. I don't know. And yeah, if there's any questions, you can just email Bruce or I, or follow the links in the ad to get more information. So.
Awesome. Thank you. Yes, while Bruce is presenting next steps, I will drop that link in the chat as well. But with that, thank you, faculty. We'll open it up for questions in a moment. But yeah, Bruce, why don't I hand it back to you?